How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Lamed Gimel, Daf 33 of Masechta BavaMetzia. Friends, your friends. Today's Daf is awesome. Yeah, we're going to finish BavaMetzia. BavaMetzia was awesome, right? Right. So we're going to finish BavaMetzia, and I don't think we're going to start on Mafkid. I think we'll do that tomorrow, but that means that tomorrow's Daf is going to be really big. Yeah, tomorrow's Daf is going to be really big. Okay, what do you want me to tell you? It's going to be really big. I think we'll just start with Hamafkid tomorrow. Yeah, I think we'll just start with Hamafkid tomorrow. Also, it's Purim today, and I gotta like read Megillah like a lot of times, and I got a lot to do. So I think we're just gonna do that. Okay. All right. We're gonna start on Daf Lamed Gimel at the Mishnah. Avidos v'avedas oviv avidos kodemis. So if I guess he lost something and his father lost something, and I guess whose does he prioritize in getting? So he prioritizes his own. Okay, again, avidos v'avedas oviv. If it's between his lost object and his father's lost object, his takes precedence. His own takes precedence. Avidos kodemis. Avidos v'avedas rabo. If it is between his own lost object and that of his teachers, shelo kodem, his own lost object takes precedence. Avidas oviv v'avedas rabo. What if it is? Sorry, my notes. Sorry, mom. Sorry, everybody. I don't know what that's all about. Avidas oviv v'avedas rabo. If it is between his father's lost object and his Rebbe's lost object, shel rabo kodemes. So the lost object of his teacher comes first, takes precedence. Because while his father brought him into this world, where am I? Whereas a person's teacher who teaches him wisdom, and does Rashi say that that's Dafka Gemara? Well, the truth is, we're going to see in the Gemara, it's shtikul machlokas, exactly what does it mean. But definitely it's a reference to Torah. So his Rebbe who teaches him Torah, brings him to the life of the world to come. Ve'im aviv chacham. Now, if his father, however, is a chacham, shel aviv kodemes, so then his father's lost object would come first. Hayo aviv v'rabo nosin masui. If his father was holding something heavy and his Rebbe was holding something heavy, whose burden does he alleviate first? Who takes priority? Maniach shel rabo v'achar kach maniach es shel aviv. So first he unloads his Rebbe's burden, and only afterwards his father's. Aviv v'rabo b'veis hashevi. If his father and his Rebbe were taken captive by horrible people, Pode es rabo v'achar kach pode es aviv. So first he redeems his father, and then first he redeems his Rebbe, and then he redeems his father. V'im aviv chacham, and if his father is a chacham, pode es aviv, so then precedence goes to his father. V'achar kach pode es rabo, and then afterwards he would redeem his father. Okay, so precedence goes first to his Rebbe and then to his father. But if his father, I don't know what, I feel like I keep on like messing everything up. I don't know why. I'm like kind of out of it right now. I don't know why. But anyways, so precedence goes to his Rebbe and then to his father. But if his father's a chacham, so then precedence goes to his father and then to his Rebbe. Fine. Says the Gemara, okay, how do we know? Okay, the Mishnah had started off by saying that if it is between your lost object and your father's lost object, or even your Rebbe's lost object, yours comes first. How come precedence goes to you? So Minanimi, how do we know this? Amar Yehuda, Amar Rav, Amar Kra, because the pasuk says, we saw this the other day. Where did we see this? On Daf Lamed. Amar Kra, that the pasuk says, Efes kilo yeh becha evyon. Well, the pasuk says that there will not be among you a pauper, right? So, meaning the Torah wants you to take care of yourself. The Torah wants you to make sure that you will not end up a pauper, and that is why you get or destitute, and that is why you take precedence. You yourself take precedence over anybody else. Shalcha kodem l'shel kol adam. Yours comes before anybody else. However, listen to this. V'amr Yehuda Amarav. But at the same time, at the same token, Yehuda Amarav warns kol mekayim ba'atzmo kach sof balidei kach, that if you sort of only ever act in this way, if you only ever behave in this way, and you never go lifnim mishur sadin, you never prioritize other people before yourself, well then that is not good. What is Rashi kind of goes into it, which is interesting. It says Rashi on the first thin line of Rashi, kol makayim ba'atzmo kach afal pi shelo itilu olav akasuv, even though the pasuk does not say that you should go lifnim mishur sadin, meaning even though according to the pasuk, or according to strictly the letter of the law, you should prioritize yourself to make sure that you will not be destitute, but nonetheless, yesh la'adam likanis lifnim mishur sadin, a person should go beyond the letter of the law. V'lo l'daktek shali kodem, and he shouldn't always be so sort of particular to say, I come first all the time. Im lo behefsid mochiach, unless it's going to be a clear loss. I think I'm reading that correctly. Unless it's going to be an objective loss that the person says, look, I have to take care of myself in this scenario. V'im tomin medaktek, but if he's always sort of so to the T and making sure that he always prioritizes himself, porek mi'olav ol gemilas chasadim, he's going to release from himself the yoke of doing kindness, vitzdaka, and charity, v'sof sheyitztarech lebios, and then he's going to be dependent on other people. So, while yes, the letter of the law is that, make sure at the end of the day you don't become destitute because you're always prioritizing other people, but where possible, it is good to prioritize other people. Very, very interesting stuff. Says the Mishnah had said, that if his father and his Rebbe are carrying something heavy, so you prioritize your Rebbe since he brings in lidei chai olam haba. Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught Rabu Sha'amru. Okay, so we can see a three-way machlokes about what exactly is considered your Rebbe, right? Your Rebbe who gets priority. What constitutes one's Rebbe? Tanu Rabbanan, Rabu Sha'amru, when they said his Rebbe, Rabbu Shalimdo Chochma v'lo Rabbu Shalimdo Mikro Mishnah Divrei Meir. So Meir says, look, this is specifically talking about Gemara. This is specifically talking about somebody who teaches, right, one's Rebbe who teaches him Gemara, not one's Rebbe who teaches him Tanakh or Mishnayos, specifically Gemara. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Kol Shirov Chochmaso Imenu. Whereas Rabbi Yehuda says that, no, it's whoever most of his Torah knowledge comes from, whether it's Tanakh, whether it's Mishnayos, whether it's Gemara, whatever it is, whatever the majority of your Torah knowledge, whoever taught it to you, that would be considered your Rebbe. Reb Yossi Omer says, Reb Yossi afil lo heir einov elo b'mishnah achas zeu Rabbo. Reb Yossi says, even if somebody only enlightened somebody with even just one Mishnah, that would be enough for them to be considered their Rebbe, and you would prioritize that person over one's father. Or my Rav says, Rav Kegon, Rav Schor, like Rav Schor, the Asberon, who taught us, Zuama Listrun, that in Masech Kelim, what's considered a spoon that removes foam or whatever from the top of a pot, that would be considered a spoon for Kelim. Okay. Shmuel Kara Monei, Aleu Merabonon, Shmuel tore kriya, he rended his garments when somebody died because that person, a certain student, a certain rabbi, the Asbere, because that rabbi had taught him the following Mishnah. Regarding the doors of the ulam and getting into the sanctuary in the temple, so there was one door that you had to stick your hand in all the way to your armpit, and then there was another one, one opened up quickly. So he taught him that Mishnah. So therefore, when that rabbi died, Shmuel rended his garments, because since he taught him that one thing, he considered him to be his Rebbe, and he or right, to the extent that he should tear his garments. Right, we probably learned about that in probably like Moed Katan or something, about rending your garments for like your Rebbe or something. Although now I can't remember it so clearly. Omar Ula, Talmid Chacham shebeBavel, says Ula, the Talmid Chacham in Bavel, Omdin Zeh mipnei Zeh, they would stand up one for the other. What does Rashi say? Rashi says, Omdin Zeh mipnei Zeh, at the end of the first wide line of Rashi, Kedin Talmud l'Rav, just like a student would do for his teacher, Lefisha yoshvin Talmud bebeis hamedrash yachad, because they would always sit in the Beis HaMedrash together, umakshin, umefarkin, they would ask kashas and give answers, v'chunim l'meidim zeh mizeh, and they would all learn from one another. So therefore they would stand up for one another. V'korin zeh al zeh, and if one of them would die, the others would tear kriya. Ulinin aveda, b'makom aviv einon chozin el l'rabba muvak. However, when it comes to returning a lost object, right, and priority going to one's Rebbe versus one's father, that they reserved for their Rebbe Muvak. What does Rashi say in Rebbe Muvak? He says, Rebbe Muvak, Sherov Chochmaso Mimenu ki Rebbe Yehuda, that most of one's knowledge comes from that teacher. That is who would get priority in terms of returning a lost object to them before your father. That was reserved for their Rebbe Muvak, the teacher who taught them the majority of their knowledge, based on the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, who says that would be considered one's Rebbe. This next excerpt is, I don't know how to describe it. It's pretty intense. This like next 4 lines. It's pretty nuts. It's pretty a little bit nuts. There's 2 ways to read it. I don't know. The article read it one way. I don't know. I naturally read it a different way. I think the article might be trying to be nice. I don't know. Kabai mine Rav Chizde mi Rav Huna. So Rav Chizde asked Rav Huna, Talmud v'tzarich lo rabo mai. What if you have a scenario where a teacher also relies upon his student, right? So let's say you have the teacher. The teacher would kind of stay in the Beis HaMedrash, and he would rely upon his student who would go out and travel and go between different Batei Medrash to come back with things that they learned in other Batei Medrash and bring it to the Rebbe, so that the Rebbe can include that in the discussion and in the learning. So the Rebbe in that respect would be dependent somewhat on his students. So Rav Chizda was a student of Rav Huna, and Rav Chizda asks Rav Huna, he says, what if you have a teacher who's dependent on his student? So in that case, if the student, right, and so then if that teacher and one's father, let's say have a load that needs to be unloaded, so who do you give precedence to? Do you give precedence to the Rebbe in that case, when the Rebbe is also dependent on the student, or would precedence go to the father? Now, Rav Chizda, I think the way to understand this is that Rav Chizda was just asking Stam, right? He wasn't necessarily saying like, hey, Rav Huna, you need me. I think he was just asking the question, but Rav Huna understood it as meaning that Rav Chizda was saying, you need me. And therefore, Amar le, so Rav Huna says to Rav Chizda, Chizde, lo tzrichon aloch, I don't need you. At tzrichos li, you need me. So now there's 2 ways to read this. The way that the art school read it was that he includes ad arba'in shnin to this phrase, right? So meaning, at tzrichas li ad arba'in shnin. You need me. Not only do you need me for another 40 years. But there's another way to read it, which apparently is how the Marshal reads it. And naturally, I thought to read it this way, which is a little crazy. So chizde lo tzrichon aloch, I don't need you. At tzrichas li, you need me. Ad arba'in shnin ikbedei adode, they were upset with each other for 40 years. They were upset with each other. So I don't know. Which way do you read it? Do you read it, meaning the first way to read it was that Rav Huna says, not only do you need me, you're going to need me for another 40 years. And then how long were they upset at each other? I don't know. The other way to say is that they got upset with each other for 40 years. Then the question, is that really true? Did they really not speak with each other for 40 years? I mean, Rav Huna and Rav Chizda, they're like, I don't know, you don't really have, they like come up all the time in the Gemara. Anyway, I'm not really sure what to make of this story, but no matter what, it's a little bit of a crazy story, right? So Rav Huna got very upset, and then Ikbedei Adode, they got upset with each other, and it sounds like either way, it was pretty serious. Either way, they avoided each other, probably for at least some period of time, whether it's 40 years, whether it was less than that, but it seems that they really had a rough patch there. Now, but they both felt bad about it. Yosef Rav Chizda arbe in Tanisa mishum decholish daite to Rav Huna. Rav Chizda fasted 40 times because he insulted Rav Huna. Yosef Rav Huna arbe in Tanisa mishum decholish daite to Rav Chizda, and Rav Huna also fasted 40 fasts because he, on account of having suspected that Rav Chizda was belittling him. What a crazy story. What a crazy story. Taner Rabbanon. No. Itmar, it was stated, Rav Yitzchak bar Yosef Rav Yochanan halacha Rav Yehuda, that Rav Yitzchak bar Yosef says, Rav Yochanan, that the halacha is like Rav Yehuda, that your Rebbe is considered the one who taught you the majority of your, right? It's like Rav Yehuda says that the Rebbe is the one who taught you the majority of your knowledge. Rav Achabar Rav Huna Amar Rav Sheshes halacha Rav Yosi, that the halacha is like Rabbi Yossi, that even if somebody just taught you one Mishnah, that's enough to be considered your Rebbe. Would Rabbi Yochanan really say that the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda, that it's whoever taught you the majority of your knowledge? Rabbi Yochanan, halacha stam Mishnah. Rabbi Yochanan says that the halacha, of course we know Rabbi Yochanan's opinion, is that if there's a stam Mishnah, the halacha is like that. V'tanan, Rabbi Shlim do Chochma. And the Mishnah says that his Rebbe is somebody who teaches him Chochma, and that was the opinion of Reb Meir, who says that Chochma is Gemara, specifically. So that's the opinion of Reb Meir. So my Chochma, Rov Chochma. So what does Chochma mean? What does wisdom mean? It means the majority of one's wisdom, which is the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Tanu Rabbanan, the Rabbi said, Oskin Bamikra, those who learn Tanakh, Mida ve'ena Mida. Okay, it's good, but it isn't incredible. B'Mishnah Mida, if you learn Mishnayos, that's incredible. V'nosan alei asachar, and you will get reward. Gemara, ein chamid gedola mizo. But if you learn Gemara, it does not get more incredible than that. Uleolam haveratz leMishnah yosem min Gemara, and one should always run towards Mishnayos more so than Gemara. Hagufa kasha, that makes no sense. Amart beGemara ein chamid gedola mizo. On the one hand, you said that when it comes to Gemara, there's nothing more incredible than that. But then you said that, and you should always run towards Mishnayos more so than Gemara. Wouldn't it make sense to run towards the thing that is the most incredible thing ever? Which would be Gemara? Why are you saying to run to Mishnayos? Amar Rabbi Yochanan, says Rabbi Yochanan, B'mei Rebbe Nishnes Mishnah Zo, that this was taught during the days of Rebbe. That initially when they said that everybody should learn Gemara, that was during Rebbe's time. And when Rebbe said everybody should go learn Gemara, Shavku kula alma masnisin va'azlu basar Gemara. So everybody stopped learning Mishnayos, and instead they started learning Gemara. Hadadarish lahu. So Rebbe had to say, wait. U'olam have rats the Mishnah yosem min Gemara. You should really prioritize Mishnah over Gemara to make sure that people wouldn't forget the Mishnayos. There's a mind-blowing Rashi over here. It's long, but it's mind-blowing. It's pretty awesome. Should we read it? I feel like we've been reading a bunch of Rashi today. There's a lot of great Rashi today. It's a great daf. So let us read this like kind of long but awesome Rashi, okay? First Rashi on Lamed Gimel Amud Beis. B'Rebbe Nishnes Mishnah Zo, that this was taught during the days of Rebbe. That when we say that there is nothing greater than learning Gemara, Misherabu Talmidei Shammai v'Hillel Shahayu Lefanav. So it says Shlosha Doros. It doesn't give us. It says Shisha Doros, which probably makes more sense, right? Well, let's think. Rebbe's father was Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, whose father was Reb Gamliel, whose father was Reb Shimon Gamliel, whose father was Reb Gamliel, whose father was Reb Shimon, whose father was Hillel. Well, that's 6 generations. So yeah, I think 6 makes sense. So Rabbi Machlokes Batorah, Venai says, where am I? So Lefi Misharabu, I'm going to do that again. Lefi Misharabu Talmidei Shammai veHillel, Shari Lefon of Shisha Doris, that when there became lots of students of Shammai and Hillel, already 6, so Rebbe already came 6 generations after that. Rabu Machlokes b'Yisra Batorah, there was a lot of machlokes with regard to Torah. I guess it became like broken telephone over the generations. And it was like emerging like 2 separate schools of learning. I don't know about broken telephone, but whatever it is, right? You have the students of Shammai who have their, it sounded like kind of, I know, it sounds almost like Ashkenaz and Sfard in a sense, Ashkenaz developed where they developed, Sfard developed where they developed. I mean, it's obviously different, but it sounds like basically you had Beis Hillel who was like kind of going down their path, and Beis Shammai who was like going down their path, and it says, V'naisis geshtei Torahs, and it was like there were 2 Torahs. When we talk Ol Shibud Malchias V'gzeiris, and because of the difficulty of the foreign, their foreign kind of rulers, we weren't independent anymore. V'gzeiris, and decrees, Shayugrozen Alein, that the rulers would decree upon the Yidden. We talk and therefore they weren't able to kind of like sit down and organize things and kind of sort out what the Mishnayos are and who's arguing and get to the bottom of things. Ad Yomav Shel Rebbe, until the days of Rebbe. So it sounded like kind of one thing led to the next, and between the fact that there was, the school of Hillel and Shammai and we were no longer independent and we were in other rulers, like things just kind of like got out of hand till finally there was an opportunity during the days of Rebbe. Shenosan HaKadosh Baruch Hu lo chein be'enei Antoninus melech Romi, that the Eibishter made good relations between Rebbe and Antoninus, the king of Rome. That we're going to learn about Masechta Avodah Zarah. Crazy stories there. And that Antoninus had a very positive relationship with Rebbe. V'nochu mitzara, and we were able to relax a bit from oppression. V'shalach v'kibetz kol tamidei Eretz Yisrael. So Rebbe took this as an opportunity, and he sent and he gathered all of the students of Eretz Yisrael. V'ad yomav lo hayu Masechtas Siduros, and until the days of Rebbe, there was no Masechtas Siduros. It's mind-blowing. So you would hear something from your teacher, somebody greater than you, Garsa, and you would, learn it. V'nosan Simonim, you would make kind of signs. Halacha plonus uflonus shamaiti misham mishim ploni. Okay, I heard this and this from that. It was like very unofficial. When they got together, so all the students got together in Eretz Yisrael, and we sat down a big Beis HaMedrash, and everybody would, say what they knew. And they would get into the reasons behind the machlokes, divrei miru uyin likayim, and they would go through, put together what everybody had brought to the table and figure out what makes the most sense to go based on. V'sidju amasechtis divrei nizikin levadim, v'divrei yevomis levadim, v'divrei kodshim levadim. This is amazing. Chevra, do you hear this? It sounds like this is unbelievable, the project that Rebbe embarked on. Rashi is saying here that until the days of Rebbe, when we started learning Babylon Talmud, we started with Zerayim, that was only Masechta Brachos. And then we learned Seder Moed with Shabbos and Erevin and all those things until Chagiga, right? All those Masechtas. And then we moved on to Noshin with Yevomis and Ksubis, etc. Now we're learning Nezikin. After that we're going to learn Kodshim and then Tyrus. There was, right. Until Rebbe, there wasn't Zerayim and Moed and Noshim and Nezikin. It was just, you learned stuff. And Rebbe brought that all together. But what happened, because it was unorganized and everything was oral, and it was traditions, and you ended up having Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, and it started kind of, it needed order. It needed order, which I guess is why they're called the Sidarim, right? The orders of the Mishnah. Rebbe put this all in order. And it says that then he created, right? He says, right, Divrei Nizikin Levadam, and they made the order of Nizikin. V'divrei Yevamis Levadam, and the order of Yevamis, which I assume is Nashim. V'divrei Kodshim Levadam. V'sosam Nami b'Mishnah Divrei Yechidim Shira Rebbe is Divreim. And also, if Rebbe felt that the halacha was a certain way, he would write that stam, right? V'shanan stam kidei likbo halacha kemosim, so that the halacha would be like them. That's why they said that with Gemara, that there's nothing greater than Gemara sheyitnu leiv l'taimei Mishnah, so that people should be paying attention to the reasons behind the Mishnah, because after all, it sounds like that's basically the mahalach that they employed over here, was to get all of the, right, everybody, there was just so many just teachings floating around. And they had to really get to the bottom of them in order to organize them into sidarim and make right, to make opinions of who things like. There was such importance given to understanding the reasons and the depth of the Mishnayos that's why Rebbe said that Gemara is so important. But then let's just keep on reading through these Rashis. Shavku kuli alma masnisim, but then everybody stopped learning Mishnayos. Milachzo al girsa. Al-Girsas Mishnasim, they stopped going over these teachings that they had. So they started only thinking about Gemara and going over these reasons and understanding how everything works together. So then Rebbe then said, wait, no, you should go to Mishnayos because he was nervous. I'm still in Rashi. That's what Rebbe said, right? Then he got nervous. Wait, everybody's so invested in Gemara. Maybe people are going to forget about the Mishnayos. And they're going to start mixing up the names of the rabbis. So therefore, he said, wait, people, don't forget about the Mishnayos. Make sure that you're learning Mishnayos as well. He even says that, right? So he says, what does he say? He says, you should still, however, be running to Mishnayos more than Gemara, because he wanted to make sure that was not going to be forgotten. Okay, back in the Gemara. That was awesome. All right, where are we? My Darush, right, fourth line of the Gemara. So initially, when Rebbe said that Gemara is awesome, so where did he darshan it from? Ki the Darush Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Eloi, my dechsev. What does the pasuk mean? Hagel la'ami pisham leveis Yaakov chatosam. Hagel la'ami pisham elu tamidei chacham. I guess, tell to my nation their sins. These are tamidei chachamim sheshgogis nasos loim kizdonis. That even mistakes are treated as if they were done on purpose. And that, okay, leveis Yaakov chatosam. And to the house of Jacob their sins, Elu Ame Aretz Shezdonis Nasos Lem Kishkogas. These are Ame Aretz, that their willful sins are treated like mistakes, meaning that when it comes to a Talmud Chacham, they're held to a higher standard, and therefore they have to make sure that they're learning the Gemara, understanding the reasons, to make sure that they're going to give the right, paskin halacha properly. This is that which we learn in the Mishnah. Perkei Avos, Rabbi Yehuda Omer says, Rabbi Yehuda, have a zor b'Talmud. Be careful when it comes to Gemara, when it comes to learning. Sheshigagas Talmud ole zadon. Because if you make a mistake when it comes to Talmud, that will be treated as though it was done on purpose. Darish Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Eloi, Ma'dichsev. What does the pasuk mean? Shimud dvar Hashem achreidim el dvarei. Listen to the word of God. Those who are tremble to it before His words. Elu tamidei chachamim. These are the Torah sages. Amru. Imru, Achechem, Elu Ba'ale Mikra. That refers to people who learn Tanakh. Sonechem, Elu Ba'ale Mishnah. These are people who learn Mishnayos. Minadechem, Elu Ame Aretz. That refers to Ame Aretz. Shem Yomu, Posak Sivram, Uvitel Sikuyim. Is it possible that maybe you're going to say that these people have no chance? Tamlom V'nire B'simchaschem. That they will see in your, that we will all see in your happiness. Shematomer Yisrael Yevoshu. Maybe you'll say that the Yidden will be embarrassed. Tamalomar vehem yevoshu, they will be embarrassed. Of the kochom yevoshu, v'Yisrael yismachu. The Kochavim will be embarrassed, but the Yidden will be happy. Hadron Oloch, BavaMetzia. We'll come back to BavaMetzia. Wow. I think we're going to stop here for today. But wow, what a daf. What a perek. That was awesome. Peace out.